There's a video that was released by the NAACP out of Bakersfield. So you had a young lady that was 5'2", 115 pounds, and the police approached her, guns drawn, dog, and everything. Now they was looking for a guy that's 5'10" with a goatee that had a machete in the store. Doesn't matter to these race soldiers. You're black, you will do. Now I want you to listen to what this young sister went through at the hands of these race soldiers.
I was coming back from the Wood and Nickel to get my dad a Father's Day gift. They were closed, it was Sunday, so I decided to turn back around and head home. It was about 103 degrees. I had 3 water bottles in my backpack, and I stopped right behind me, right by the sign, to take a sip, and then I turned around and there were 3 cop cars, and one of the officers already had a gun drawn at me. They asked me, was I inside the store? And I told them no. And then they asked me if I was sure. And I was like, yeah. I turned to another officer who was in front of me, Officer Vasquez. And I told him, I said, sir, what's going on? And then he was like, give me the backpack. And then I was like, do you have a warrant? And then he pointed behind me and he said, look. So I looked behind me and it was a big canine dog. And then I got scared, and then I was like, here, just take the backpack, just take the backpack. And then after that, he grabbed me by my wrist like this, and then he grabbed me by my neck, punched me, and then he threw me onto the ground, and then that's when the K9 came and started eating at my leg. They rolled me around. Officer Vasquez put his knee in my back, and I told him I couldn't breathe, and then he put his other knee in my head. And I told him, I can't breathe, and then I started yelling out, somebody help me, they're gonna kill me. And then finally, he let me up, he tied my hands behind my back, and then he tied my feet together and he threw me in the back of the car. And on my way going back to the car, I heard somebody say, that's not the guy, that's not the guy.
Well, she actually called while she was in the hospital. And I thought she was joking because she was like, Mom, I'm in the hospital, the police beat me, and a dog bit me.
I was like, wow. I'm like, let me talk to the officer. And so the officer got on the phone and I asked him what happened, and he told me that it was mistaken identity. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, is she okay? And he was like, well, she's alive and she's in the hospital.
My daughter is a very responsible young lady. She works, she loves life. There was no reason for this to happen to her.
They never told me why they stopped me, but after they beat me and threw me in the cop car, that's when they explained that there was some guy with a machete that was inside the grocery store and they were looking for him, and I matched the description.
She's not the same person since that happened. I brought her here the other day because we were looking for the gentleman that even told the officers that that's not the guy, and they still continue to beat her and have the dogs on her after he told them. They ran him back in the store.
I read the paper, my paperwork fell, and it said that I shoved an officer and I flipped him on his back.
They would say that my daughter attacked them. Come on, she's 5'2", 115 pounds soaking wet, and that she attacked a 200-pound man.
There were dogs and guns drawn on me. Like, I would never do anything like that.
Every day I have to change her bandages, and I see the injuries that she has. It's really hard for me.
On Monday, we kind of did our own little investigation. We came to the store, spoke with the manager. He told me that the police had actually caught the guy that had the machetes. And that's what's a shame. I don't know for sure, but the guy probably didn't have a scratch on him.
He still tried to handcuff me and flip me over while the dog was still biting me, and I'm yelling out like, I didn't do anything, I'm a female, like, why are you doing this to me?
Why should my daughter be charged with a crime? All she did was stop to drink some water because it was 100 and something degrees. That's ridiculous.
We gotta find a way not to let this kind of thing happen ever, ever. If a kid can't stop on a bicycle and take a drink of water just to take a break.
She was coming home to celebrate Father's Day with me. It's not right. It's not right.
Those are the most incompetent cops running around in Bakersfield. You mean to tell me you don't know the difference between a 5'10" black male with a goatee versus a 5'2" girl that's 115 pounds? Listen how she said that this race soldier grabbed her, punched her in the face, had the dog maul her, could have killed this young lady. And for what? Mistaken identity. Then when the parents get on the phone, you say, well, it was mistaken identity. She's alive. Like, you ought to be glad that she's alive, because we could have killed her. Because in this country, they give them free reign to do what they want to do. This is the terrorism that black people have to go through in the United States of America for just being black, just existing in America. And when you see these stories, a lot of us get upset. We want something done. Then a great portion of us who's frustrated are going to say, well, you're not going to do nothing about it anyway. You're going to continue to allow this to go on. But with time, something has to be done, because this can't keep going on. Let me tell you what's going on in this country. Ever since Donald Trump has been elected as president, these race soldiers, the neo-Nazis, alt-right, Caucasian hate groups, and anybody else that sympathize with them have been running amok. They have been acting like it's the 1950s, and the majority of black America won't accept that. You won't accept it. It's hard for you to accept it. But understand, this is the system you're living in. The things that's happening to black people today happened in the 50s and the 40s. And you got to start getting like the brothers and sisters in the 50s and 40s, unifying, organizing, and understanding the harsh reality of where you at in this country. Understand something. Donald Trump, every day, I'm starting to really support him being there. And this is why I'm saying this. You may say, wait, why are you saying that? I'm saying that because all this stuff wouldn't start happening to us if Hillary would have got in there. These people are running wild and crazy, and we needed that wake-up call because we have got too comfortable with an illusion of inclusion or an illusion of freedom, because we don't really have that in America. You seeking dogs on girls. You're lying on police reports. They do that all the time, of course, saying a 115-pound girl could flip you in the presence of other officers with a dog there. That doesn't make sense. You remember when Malcolm X said that those race soldiers will assault you and then say you assaulted them when you were being beat up with a billy club? That's what he stated. This girl getting ate up by a dog, punched in her face, choked, like she's some sort of slave on a plantation, and yet she's charged with resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer. This is the sick culture of policing that we have in the United States of America. And there are many people, and I want to make sure to do this. I'm going to leave the Facebook page of the Bakersfield Police Department. I went there and people are pissed the hell off when they heard about this. And I say people, not just black folks. Make sure you go to that link and write how you feel on the Bakersfield Police Department's Facebook page, because they really need to know. Because one person had left a comment to me, and thank you for leaving that comment. I appreciate the suggestion that anytime we do these police videos and we know the actual department, we start leaving information to what police department it is, a Facebook page, Twitter, etc. So you guys can go speak with them or make complaints to them about what their officers are doing. And a lot of times that brings pressure against the police departments to actually do something, because if people aren't keeping pressure on them, then nothing's going to be done. But the thing I have is just back to what we saw with the Umar Johnson situation. And I'm bringing him up for a reason. One thing I notice about black people, you will fight so hard to be in relationships with Caucasians, dating Caucasians. And the way you fight that hard about that, can you fight that hard about protecting our brothers and sisters from these race soldiers? Can you get that same fight, that same anger, that same drive that you have for that doesn't benefit the black community whatsoever, and turn it to something that will benefit the black community and protecting our children? If our children can't walk down the doggone street without being mauled by dogs, without being punched in the face by race soldiers named Vasquez, what are we going to do? That's why a lot of black people get frustrated and say, you know, what's the point of speaking up? You're not going to do nothing. You're going to say, oh, well, I'm upset. Oh, well, I'm this. You're not going to unify. You're not going to organize. You're not going to speak up. You're going to duck your head and run. Well, some of us going to go this. And look, those of you who are activists in Bakersfield, well, what are you doing? I'm calling you out. Well, what are you doing? And don't tell me nothing. I'm the media guy. I'm not an activist. That's not my position. But those of you who are activists, what are you doing? You can't let this young sister be terrorized like that. It's time for the activists to get back out there again. I know a lot of y'all got scared and ducked your head and ran when Trump got in there. But you know what? You got to get back out there. It's just that simple. They already hate you as it is. Black Lives Matter LA posted one ad and it triggered all the Caucasians that hate black people, obviously, from what I read in the comments section. But you need to get yourself back out there. Stand up for your community. All of you who say that you love black people. You don't have to be in a group to do it. Just get out there and start doing it. Get these race soldiers fired. Get some lawsuits going. Get some changes going. Because if we don't do it, nobody else going to do it. Don't look at your Caucasian friends as liberals in California to do it. You need to get out there and do it. These people keep doing this because there's no consequences for it. That's what it is. At least at one point in time when y'all wasn't scared, y'all was actually getting out there and saying something. You notice things start happening because you guys are getting out there. The race soldiers finally start getting charged. You wouldn't even see them charged at one point in time. They was getting let go from grand juries. Start seeing DAs getting voted out because you guys got out there to do something about it. The DAs had to change their tactics too because they didn't want to get voted out. So they had to start charging the race soldiers reluctantly. Now their new tactic is throwing the case with the jury. You guys can't stop the progress that you already made. You have to constantly get back out there because this struggle that we have, unfortunately, it's a two-front war. We have a war within and a war without. But this is your government doing this to this young lady. And understand something. It could be this young lady today. It could be your kid tomorrow. Then what are you going to say? We're so quick to say something to each other, not tolerate each other doing a simple thing. But we sit up here and allow these race soldiers to punch our kids in the face, maul our kids with dogs, and then we don't say nothing. What are we going to do? Pray? You're going to forgive him? That what you're going to do? What? It's time for black people to unify. It's time for black people to stand up for yourselves. Do for yourselves. There's no excuse for this. There's none. This is upsetting. And me personally, I'm even getting tired of telling these stories because you tell these stories to get the information out there, then you look up and you don't do anything about it. You go right back to business as usual, fighting over Jordans, fighting about interracial dating, fighting about light skin and dark skin. Just the stupid things we fighting about when these race soldiers out here mauling our kids with dogs, beating us down and shooting us in the back. Important stuff that we need to be dealing with. The Bakersfield Police Department know how you really feel on Facebook, because the only way they will know unless you leave some comments and share with them on how their race soldiers are just being terrorists behind a badge. Share the video, like the commentary, and subscribe for more news stories.